For media buyers working as part of an agency or who have clients, and it's quite typical to have something like a launch sheet. So in here, you're probably going to have your creative file names and the different primary texts, headlines, descriptions, destinations which have been approved by the client. And your job is then to take those texts and move them into Ads Manager. Or, of course, if you're already using Ads Uploader, you could upload them into Ads Uploader, but there's still quite a lot of manual steps in taking this text over to your client's ad account. So I'm going to demonstrate how we can use the MCP to actually interact with our web application to solve that problem. So first of all, I'm going to select a bunch of files. I've already prepared a number of them here. So this is 16 or 15 files in total. With some of them have different aspect ratios. So this is a 1:1 with a 4:5 and a 9:16, and these have 9:16s. But it doesn't matter, just demonstrating that you can set this up however you want. Upload the files as per normal in that first step of using Ads Uploader. So these are now ready in the Ads Uploader ad account, and I can go on to start setting up my configuration. So I'm just going to use a preset that I've saved earlier. Here you'd select whatever options you want. I'm going to choose auto divide ads into ad sets, and I'll say I want 5 ads in an ad set. So I have 10 ads in total, which are going to be divided into 2 ad sets. And if I click edit text, you'll see that all of the ads are pre-filled with my preset text from that preset which I used to configure the campaign. Now here, normally you would have to go back to your sheet and then you begin pasting these one by one into here, making sure there's no mistakes. And obviously that can be quite time consuming depending on how many ads you actually have to work with. Now recently Ads Uploader has introduced builds. So here in the top left corner, you'll see a build ID. If you go back to the previous screen, you'll also see a build ID down in the bottom left here. And you can access your builds at the top here, so you can actually see this is the current build I'm working on. I can actually fork this build, which means make a new build. And this is now the new build I'm working in. So if I go back to this, you'll see my current build is now the same, a forked version of this build. That's a lot of build terminology, but the fundamental is you can come back to something which you've already started, or you can save it as something you want to finish later or use to create a new build in the future. Okay, enough of that modal. So jumping down to the edit text option here. Now, as I said, normally we'd need to type all this information in, but we now have 2 buttons here, which are the Claude and ChatGPT buttons. So if I click the Claude button, that is going to jump over to Claude. I already have my account logged in, and I've actually already set up the MCP. If you don't already have the Ads Uploader MCP set up for your account, you can just follow the instructions at this URL here. But you basically just set up a custom connector with our MCP URL. You can then authenticate with your Ads Uploader account, and that will allow Claude to access Ads Uploader through the chat interface. So if you're really smart, what you could actually do is set up a Google Sheets integration as well, and you could actually have Claude go to Google Sheets, get that data, and work directly through the chat interface. But for me, for demonstration in this video, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take those ads. So it was these 10 ads here. I'm just going to select the rows, and I'm just going to copy it and just dump it into Claude. Now, Claude is really good at figuring out what belongs where. So even though if someone gave this to me, I would throw it back at them, Claude never throws anything back at you, which we're very thankful for. So I'm just going to now send this message to Claude. It's going to think about things, think about how to deal with this job, and hopefully in a minute or two, it's going to come back with a completion. Okay, so it's now finished. It actually went in 2 parts. So first of all, it fetched the build, and then it says it has per ad text keyed by creative file name. So that's important. Obviously, in your launch sheet, you actually need a reference to be able to see Claude to know which file you actually want to update with the different text. So you need that uniformity so it's able to reference what it needs to do. And then it says, I'll patch each ad's headlines, primary text, description, CTA, and destination URL from your table, and basically leave everything else the same. And then 30 seconds or so later, it came back and said saved. All 10 ads now have their new copy and the update is stored. Okay, so now if I just go back to my tab, you're going to get a notification at the top here that the build has been updated, and you'll actually see if I go over to here, so MCP1 should have the headline, launch 100 ads in minutes, bulk upload ads, skip the grind. Okay, and then the primary text, we should say, you know the feeling, and then primary text to 100 ads, 1 upload minutes. And you'll see it's updated all the other elements as well. So this has been repeated for all of the ads. I didn't need to copy and paste anything. It's just all done agentically, is that a word? Through Claude, just through copy and pasting the sheet in here. So you can get smarter with it. Obviously, you can, as I said, you can integrate sheets directly to Claude and have Claude, not even have to paste anything at all. It's entirely up to you how you operate this. It's also worth mentioning that it's not just add texts that Claude can access. It can access the entire build. So right down to turning enhancements on and off. It can set up your ad set builds. It can even upload your media. Although if you are looking for something which is end-to-end, I highly recommend our CLI over the MCP, just plainly because the CLI interface is far more robust for dealing with files than the MCP. CLI is much more of a native orchestration platform for something like this rather than MCP, so it's going to be a lot smoother experience, but anything is possible. So you can have the MCP, Claude, ChatGPT, set up your campaign however you want. Now importantly, you get to make that final okay on the create ads. So once you've proofed everything, you've proofed your media, you've proofed your campaign setup, you've seen all this, you've checked your ad text and your enhancements, your AI transparency, your scheduling, whatever you want to do, you can then go ahead and press the create ads button yourself, and it's going to now drive that launch as it would do normally through the web application. So really a nice use of AI here to actually interact with the web application itself, still leaving you in control of the interface, but allowing you to speed up your workflow any way you choose from your favorite agent, Claude or ChatGPT.